please don't. Plus Caitlin Aiken, it's Irish,
You want to call it bacon?
equals
I don't know how you're
Afler. I like
Taylor? Bacon?
faking Aiken.
Caitlin Faker. And we will both have that name.
I think Faker is spelled better without the first E. But
So you in the first row, not only do you get my saliva hitting you, you get markers on the backside of your head. Is this on? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're just,
David should have been. We didn't do shot
Okay, so thank you all for being here. We have a little bit of a late start, but that's okay. We're gonna get what we need to get done, and we're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be awesome. So, I have actually verified. I've been getting some emails from people who are taking the course from home. So we are very glad to have you. It's nice to know that there actually are people watching this. Usually when I direct something to you, the viewer, I don't expect anyone to actually hear it ever. So, it's very exciting to have you, but we have two people who are taking it remotely. We're very glad to have you with us. So I'm going to try to be sure to introduce like exactly what chapters we're going over each class so that there's no confusion, because we're not exactly where we're supposed to be on the syllabus because of our snow days. So today, if you look on the syllabus, we are doing the session that's going to cover the third declension and also first and second person personal pronouns. We're going to be going over chapters 10 and 11 in the Mounts textbook.
So we're just pushing everything back a week.
Yep, a full week, yes. And we gon' jam out while we learn. That just ends on page 77. I'm going to refer to the textbook here, but we're not going to go over it in a ton of detail because the nice thing is conceptually we already know what's going on here. We just need to memorize some new morphology. That is another declension. So when I say declension, I'm of course talking about those columns like logos, graphe, ergon. Those ones represent declensions 1 and 2. But you know that those columns give us the different cases that those nouns can appear in, right? We have our nominative, our genitive, our dative, and our accusative. Well, when we look at the third declension, it's the exact same thing. It's giving you the exact same information. If you flip to page 81, and you look at the top, that paradigm 10.10, you see we have 3 columns here, sarx, anima, and tis. Sarx means the flesh, or flesh. You don't have to put it on there. Flesh, anima is name, tis is, it depends if it has that accent mark. If it has the accent mark, it's an interrogative, indefinite pronoun, so like who, whom, which, what. It actually can be why as well, it depends upon the context. If it doesn't have that accent mark, it means a certain one, someone, something, depending upon the gender and the case. So, when we do the third declension, we usually just focus on sarx and anima, okay? Now, he gives you these 3 because they're each a little different, but when we look at these, they are hugely similar. So, for sarx, as you're going down, you see the genitive singular is sarkos. So that C switches to a kappa, and then you have your omicron sigma ending. Dative singular, sarke, or you could say sarki, that's cool, I don't care. Accusative singular, sarka, right? Our ending there is an alpha. Moving down, nominative plural, this is genuinely different than what we've experienced thus far. Sarkes, sarkes. Then we have sarcome. Hey, genitive plural. It's always own. You gotta love the own. You gotta appreciate the own. When you're praying, you gotta thank the Lord for the own. It's always genitive plural in nouns. But it's still very nice. I'm just telling you, it's nice. Love the own. Embrace the own. Make the own your own. Come on, that'll preach. That'll preach. It's okay. You are forgiven. When you do find a, well, you have found a spot. We are on page 81. We're looking at the third declension paradigm. So, dative plural, sarksin. Sarksin. Okay, that's a little different. There's a C instead of a kappa. Let's look at the last one. Sarkos. Sarkos is accusative plural. Let me address the reason why nominative singular has a C instead of a kappa, why all the rest have a kappa, and then dative plural also has a C. The reason is because when certain consonants go up next to each other, they can't stand like that, they end up morphing, okay? For instance, when a P and a sigma, when there's a change in the morphology of a word, like here, our endings are changed, they change to indicate the case, right? So, if the stem of your noun ended in a P and then you have a sigma that's up next to it with your ending, it won't remain like that. It'll switch into a psi. So when you're looking at the letters, you may be like, oh man, how am I ever going to know that? That's crazy. A P and a sigma, then a psi. Well, listen to the sound of it though. Pss, pss. What does this say? What does this sound like? Pss. It makes the exact same sound. So when you're listening to it, when you're pronouncing it out loud, it makes perfect sense. So this is actually what we have going on here. You have sarks. Do you see above the column there are these stems with the asterisk next to them? On page 81, right? So for sark, it says that the stem is this. Sark ends in a kappa. I want to make this clear too. I'm just talking about stems to illustrate what you need to know. I'm not saying that you need to memorize the stems or anything like that, because that's not the case. I'm not. You don't need to memorize the stems, it's unnecessary. But just to illustrate this point, when an ending contains a sigma or begins with a sigma, like the dative plural ending for the third declension is sin. Okay, so then you have sark, sin, the kappa and the sigma, they morph into a xi. So then you have sarksin. But here's the thing, what's the sound a xi makes? Right? What would a kappa next to a sigma sound like? The same exact thing. So, but make sure that you're saying the word out loud, and when you say it, I think that the change in spelling is not going to trip you up, because you're going to realize it's the same thing. That's just what happens. The kappa and the sigma, they get along. They're friends. they embrace, and they become a Xi. It's beautiful. Okay. Maybe that will help you remember.
Question.
Yes.
You were using dative plural as an example, and that brings about the question of why is the new in parentheses?
Yes, because this is a very good question. That is called a movable new. Can everyone see that when you're looking at the columns? Actually, when you're looking at all three columns, the dative plurals, all the ending news are in parentheses. That's because the ending new can be there or not be there. I would say that there's a particular rule, but I don't think that there is, well, that he explains one that is.
I think it's a couple chapters ago, maybe in the additional or somewhere, because I remember seeing it.
Yes,
And
and
I can't remember which letters cause it.
yeah, there's certain, because you would think that maybe, hey, whenever the next word begins with a vowel, then there's a new, but I don't think it's that simple. I think it's a little more complicated than that. But it's not a big deal, because if you see sarksi, like you know that that is not the spelling of a different case. You know what I mean? Sarksi could only be dative plural. Sarksin could also only be dative plural. So keep that in mind. The new might be there or it might not be there. Now, going to the next column, we have anima. Now, with anima, I will say this. First, he doesn't have it right here in the footnote, but I'm pretty positive that any noun, if it ends in ma, mu alpha, it is neuter. Okay? Just so you know. Because here's the thing, you might be wondering, okay, if sarx is third declension and anima is third declension, why do we have two different columns? Why don't we just have one? Well, the answer to that is the same answer that we would give for why is logos and ergon in two different columns, right? It's because the neuter has a few differences from some of the other genders. Okay? So we have anima, anamatas, anamate, anima. Can we make some observations from those four in relation to sarx? Do you see any similarities?
The same. Except the Latin are very similar.
Yeah, exactly, right? We have genitive singular and dative singular are basically identical. The endings are the same, right? The only difference is that with anima, we bring that tau in for the genitive and singular. That comes in, but the ending is still the same. Yes?
Is there a difference? You mentioned that the endings with the new alpha, but this also has a tau.
Correct.
So is that kind of ignored?
Well, remember the anamat that you're looking at the top? That's not the lexical form. When you look it up in the dictionary, the word's anima. He's just letting you know that the stem, you'll never see a stem
That's not a word.
exactly. The stem will never be seen in the New Testament, in literature, but the stem does exist theoretically. The reason why the tau comes in the genitive and the dative, is because the stem does have a tau. Although in writing, a stem itself is never written out, like a Greek author would have never written a stem. So, I'll say this, that conceptual stuff might be confusing, and if it is, don't worry about it, just memorize this column. You need to know those endings, that when you see a it for an ending, that single iota, and it's a noun, you should be thinking this is probably dative singular, it's probably third declension, like sarke or anamate. You know, so if you memorize these two columns, when you see, let's say you saw tinnes. Now, of course, that is actually in the third column. But even if you just stick to memorizing sarks and anima, and then you see a word like tinnes, and you're like, oh, I know that's a pronoun. I know it's from that word that means like certain thing or something. It means that. I don't know why there's a nu there, because I know the lexical form's tis. I don't know what's up with that nu, but I know that ending, s, that's got to be nominative plural, like sarkes. So then, so when you see it, even though you don't know why there's a nu, because you haven't memorized all the stem stuff, you know the lexical form, you know that it's from that word, you recognize the ending, and you can still parse that bad boy and translate it, even though you don't know all of the reasons why. So that's why I encourage you guys to, I'm having you guys memorize the declensions with the word. Like, let's say Lagos Grafe Aragon, I didn't have you, he does have charts in here that are just the endings. As, oo, o. Like that, I didn't have you memorize just those endings because I think it's too difficult. I think to memorize them attached to a word is far easier. And then as you go on, you get more, you get accustomed to the way that a word declines. Then you start to kind of put the little puzzle pieces together as to why these different things are happening. So, so just a little explanation on that stuff. I just don't, when I'm talking about stems, I don't want it to overwhelm you and be like, because you don't need to memorize that stuff. So, looking again at the anima column, yes, we see that there's another noticeable morphological thing that's going on in the first four, which we found out with ergon. What is that? It's kind of a vague question. That was an extremely vague question.
Oh, the nominative and accusative are the same.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Yes. Anima can be nominative or accusative, even in the third declension. Third declension, second declension, those two are the same. So, take heart. Yay. You know one spelling, two cases. Yeah. That's nice. Now, let's look at the plurals for anima. Anamata. Anamaton. Anamasin, anamata. So there, again, we see that the nominative and the accusative are identical. What else do you notice from, let's say, the nominative and the accusative when you think about ergon? Can anyone say the nominative accusative plural for ergon? Erga, and how do you spell it? Yep, epsilon, rho, gamma, alpha. Ends in that alpha, right? What do we have here? We've got the same thing, okay? So that's nice. Just that tau came in, right? So we brought in the full stem, but it still ends in an alpha. Yes?
So do we really need to know the genitive, really, to be able to properly define these?
Yes, you do. And that's exactly why the lexical form includes the genitive singular ending. And that's what, once we go through these columns, I'm going to talk about that, because now you guys will be able to understand fully why that is. So, genitive plural, anamaton, We got the own again. Yes, genitive plural all day long for nouns. Now, dative plural, anamasin. Okay, so as you can see there, you may not have expected that. The dative plural ending in the third declension is sin, right? Or se, because the new is movable. But you had an anamat, didn't you? Wasn't the stem anamat ending in a tau? Well, where did I put you? There you are. That was your stem. You throw the sin in there, and the tau just drops out on this one. Fine with me. Didn't need that tau anyway. But, you know, is that really going to trip you up? If you get down that the dative plural ending for the third declension is sin, like sark sin, is that going to trip you up? Probably not. Probably not. Well, I mean, it could. It could. But just think, it's not. It won't. That's right. And then lastly, accusative plural, we have anamata. Again, the alpha, indicating the plural. Accusative plural for anima. Yes, so what Val asked was a good question, and now is the time to address that. When you have a lexical form it'll probably look something like that. Say huias, and then u, and then ha. Now, what is huias? Oh yes, that's what it means. Like if you were to parse it, like case and number, what is that? Yeah, the nominative singular, right? Because that's always the lexical form, is the nominative singular. But what if it's an adjective and can show up in multiple genders? What gender would the lexical form be? Masculine, right? Nominative singular and then masculine. For a noun, that doesn't matter because a noun only has one gender, right? Adjectives and other certain words can be in any gender because they modify any noun. So they have to be able to show up in all, right? So you have your nominative singular here. And then like when you were first looking through your flashcards, you're looking in the back of the book, you're listening to Mounts pronounce the words on your computer, you're like, ew, what? What's that? And then as time went on, you're like, that's a genitive singular. Cool, why are you telling me this? And then ha, all right. So let me ask you about the article first. What's the point of giving you the article? So that you know the gender. Because although second declension, like huias, ones that end in the omicron sigma of the second declension, although most of the time they're masculine, every once in a while they're not. Every once in a while they're feminine. There's, I don't know, maybe one or two you learn in this book, like 340 words that don't follow the pattern. But sometimes they don't. So that's why the article definitively tells you what the gender is. Prophetes is what declension? Prophetes is first declension, like graphe, right? And it makes sense, it fits. So if it were nominative plural, it'd be prophetai, right? Prophetai. What gender is prophetes? It is masculine. But you made a really good guess. Why did you guess feminine?
Because of the ace.
Exactly. Because when the nominative ends in an eta or eta sigma like that, the vast majority of the time it is feminine. So that was actually an extremely good guess. But every once in a while it doesn't follow the rules. So with prophetes, it would say prophetes, ace, and then ha. So it would let you know, that's how you know definitive, okay? So little refresher on the article, why there's an article in your lexical form to tell you the gender. Now, the oo is what case and number?
Singular.
Yep, it's the genitive singular ending. And now, you guys, like you've now learned all the cases for the Greek nouns. There's first, second, and third. Be happy because in Latin there's 5. The reason why you're given that genitive singular ending is so that you definitively know which declension it is. Because if I just gave you the word huios, and let's say you didn't know that that was the lexical form. Let's say you'd never seen this word before. How would you know what case and number it is? How would you know, well, how about this? How would you know what declension it is? If you didn't know the lexical form. Because look at the Sarks column. If you had no idea what this word is, could that possibly be third declension? And what would it be if it were? Genitive singular, like sarkos. So, now it makes perfect sense. You, though, would never make that mistake, and the reason is because you know the lexical form. The lexical form includes huios, huiu. And huiu, genitive singular, huiu, okay, just like logos. Logos, logu. So it's second declension. So therefore, when I see, huios, I'm not confused. So that's the reason why you're given that genitive singular ending, so that you know definitively which declension to plug it into. On the same page, when you're looking at the TIS column, you'll see that TIS does almost the same exact thing as anima, just instead of adding a tau, it adds a nu. So the nu comes in because that's part of the stem, and it has the same, the normal third declension endings. Dative plural switches to the sigma. The sin, and next to the tin, that nu from the first part just drops out. Okay. Also, you may be noticing as well that, well, hey, sarx is feminine. Anima is neuter. Well, what about the masculine? How does that fit in here? Because with logos graphe ergon, it was right masculine, feminine, neuter, 2-1-2. What's going on, with that here? In the third declension, it doesn't matter so much the gender, but instead the stem. That's why you see above sarx it says K stem. And above anima it says mot stem or mu alpha tau. Pastor Joe. So when you jump down to the next paradigm below, you'll see that this is all of TIS laid out. because tis can be any gender. Because of the nature of it being a pronoun, here an interrogative pronoun. But you'll see that the first column is masculine or feminine. So it can be both, which is nice. It just means it's one less column of differences that you have to know. And then the neuter is its own column. And in that one, you see the same exact patterns following the normal third declension endings. Tis, tinas, tine, tina, tinus, tinon, tisin, tinas. We jump over to the neuters. You see that the nominatives and the accusatives are the same again, as we've come to expect. And then the other ones are identical to the other column. But I want you to focus on sarx anima. That's what you should be focused on being able to write out. Be able to write out sarx and anima. Go ahead and flip the page. We're going to just look quickly at the word that means one. That little paradigm at the top. Haste is an adjective meaning one. Okay, so you have masculine, feminine, and neuter because it's an adjective. So it can match up with any noun, and nouns come in three genders. That's why you have three genders here. This is also third declension. The nominative singulars are a little funky. It's kind of, haste. Why? Why is it haste when the next word is henas? Why is the feminine mia? I don't know, but it is. So this one is actually, can you tell me the numbers of these declensions? Look at those three columns, haste, mia, hen. Look at the way they decline. Can anyone give me what declensions they are?
Third?
Which ones are third?
The east.
Haste.
Haste.
Yep, that is third declension, that column. Yes, the neuter is also third declension. Because look, genitive singular ends in os, dative singular ends in I with that iota, trademark, third declension. What about the feminine? Look at those endings.
It's at first.
It's a first declension, yes. Just like graphe, but here it'd be more like hora, because it ends in an alpha, right? So mia, mias, you put that sigma on there. Mia with the iota subscript, and then mia, you add the nu. So this is 3, 1, 3. Here's a question for you. Why is there not another section for plurals on this paradigm?
There's one
Because
for
it's
the
only one.
Because it means one, so there can't be a plural, because that would be crazy. And we would have to be dreaming. It wouldn't be real. It couldn't be. Oh yes, here's a good example. C83. See all those charts? That is an example of what I don't want you to memorize. See that? Well, what that is, when you look at it, that's logos, graphe, ergon, and then it's sarx, anima. That's what that is. But it's to memorize just the endings apart from the word, I think is too difficult. I think it's not very helpful. So technically, you are actually going to have all that memorized, but you're going to have it memorized attached to the words. Okay? But that is a good chart to just brush up on if you just want to think of like just the specific ending, but don't get that memorized. But think about if you were to get that tattooed on your forearm. That would be a beautiful, you know.
Mark of the beast.
Well, if the mark of the beast is a Greek paradigm, you never know. You never know. When you flip to the next page, the square of stops. Basically what that is what I was talking about earlier. Which consonants, when they are next to each other, form a different letter. Like the P and the sigma being ps, like that. That's what all that is. But that's all fairly intuitive. You know, if you haven't looked at that, just go over that again. Not a huge deal. I think you're going to be able to recognize it when you see it. If you flip to page 86, you see another paradigm. Yay! This word is very important because it's just used a lot. Pas. And then if you said all three, the pas, pas, upon, for the masculine, feminine, and the neuter. What does pas mean?
Every.
Each and every.
Yep, if it is generally, if it's singular, you translate it each or every. And if it is plural, you translate it all. Okay? It's an adjective. It's very common. And if you look at the endings, the reason why he gives you this is because this paradigm is exactly the way participles will work. We get into participles like chapter, it's a while, it's probably like a couple of months before we do participles, but the endings here are identical to those, so they are pretty important. But when you look at it though, it's not really different from Sark's anima. You have a 3-1-3. The nominative singulars are the ones that are the most different, right? Because when you get past pas, you see pantas, pante, panta. Those are all the endings from Sark's, right? Pantes, panton, pasin, pantas. So it's all what you've come to expect. The second column is first declension, basically just like parafe. And then the third is neuter, third column. Basically what you just learned. Okay. So, let's flip over to the next chapter.
Quick question.
Yes.
The two words that we use, sarx
Yes.
and
Anima.
anima. What gender are they?
Sarx is feminine and anima is neuter.
So third declension doesn't have per se gender association per se that is as dominant as say logos, but for the second declension would be with masculine or neuter.
In general, I would say that that's correct. It's more about the stem. Yeah. Yes.
What determines, or who determined what declension something would fall into?
Oh, I have no idea.
Happened a long time ago.
It is interesting. It's kind of like, how did all of this develop? You know?
Zeus.
Yes, Zeus. That's a good guess. You get bonus points
Tower of Babel.
for that.
Right?
Tower of Babel.
And I feel sorry
That's
for-
where stuff was shaken up a bit.
Maybe they had an academy that decided the way the French do.
Maybe they did. Okay, first and second person, personal pronouns. What are the two words we're talking about in English, if we're talking about subject?
First and second.
Yeah,
I and you.
yes, in general, we're talking about I and you. I is first person, right? How many persons do we have for for personal pronouns?
3.
3, right? So in English, we said we have I. I is what number? First. This can be confusing at first. It's easy to get it mixed up in your head, but once you start doing it a bit, it gets pretty second nature. What's the second person again? You. And what's the third?
Yo!
Oh! Hey, you know, what can I say? You know, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a joke to crack. It's not working.
He, she.
He, she.
He, she, it.
Oh, fine, it.
Well, yes, I mean, you're right, we just need to add it in there. So, the first person is the one speaking, okay? Second person is the one being spoken to. Third person, the one being spoken about. I say one, but they could be plural, obviously, so then it would be those. So,
But you is the same. You can be plural or,
Y'all.
yeah, you all.
yeah, you could do y'all. It's possible. You could do ye. You could do use.
Hey, you guys.
Use. How's that spelled? Probably like this or something. Use. Use guys.
Don't confuse me.
Okay.
Just stick with y'all and pretend you're from Texas.
You're very bossy, Patrick.
Pretend you're from Texas.
Not allowing me to confuse you.
I'll start spelling use.
That's
People
the only
start
reason I come here.
making fun of me.
Confuse everybody. That's the only reason. Now,
They also talk like that in Cranston.
that's right, Cranston.
Not Little Brothers.
Let's think about the first person in English. Let's think about it in English, okay? So if it's singular and it's the subject, first person, what should the word be, Dan?
I.
I. Patrick, if it's first person, we're talking about a first person personal pronoun, it's singular, but it's the object instead of the subject. What would you say in English?
First person,
Yep,
singular.
yep,
It's the object.
correct. Meaning that it's receiving the verb instead of doing the verb.
Me.
Me, right? So, I drove my car. My friend drove me around to the store, wherever. Okay? If it's a subject, I, it's an object, me. Let's put this to rest too. Okay. If you have someone else's name and then you're referring to yourself, it's not always I. It's not always Jimmy and I. It's not always Bob and I. What dictates whether it's I or me?
Subject or the object.
A bingo.
If your mom yells at you or not.
Because this is
Your
what will
mom
happen.
yells at you.
You will say, you know, they're coming to pick Bob and me up for the movies later, and then whoever's going to remember, like, it's actually Bob and I. And then you're like, oh man, I'm so bad at grammar. No, that is the object. They are picking, so all you do, if you want to know which one to do, just drop the other person and the and out of the sentence and say it. Okay? Alright? And if it's me, then it's me with the other person. That's a little side note. I had to vent. I hope that goes viral. I hope that little snippet of the video goes viral. But, okay. Now, here's a question. Yes?
Just a quick little refresher. Sometimes people will use like myself
Yeah?
incorrectly. Would you just give a little blurb to be used?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, I can give you info on like classical languages, how it's used, although I don't know if this corresponds perfectly to English. Myself is usually, it's either reflexive or intensive. Reflexive means that it's being done to you. So like, oh no, like I hurt myself. I hurt myself at work. So I hurt. So I did the verb, but the object of the verb is me too. So I say I hurt myself. You wouldn't say I hurt me. And you can tell, I hurt me. You hurt you? Oh, do you mean yourself? Do you mean I hurt myself? Like you can tell. So that's a reflexive usage. It's pointing back to the subject. But then there's also an intensive usage when you're trying to emphasize that that pronoun, or it could be a noun. So, like we don't do it so much in speech with the intensive. It's more so in writing. I myself took the dogs for a walk. You wouldn't actually say that, but that's actually okay. You're emphasizing I in that sentence. Bob himself went to the store. Bob himself. You're emphasizing Bob, so it's more literary. But I know what you're saying. Like they use it as an object. Oh, they're picking up Bob and myself.
Right.
I don't think that's correct. I don't think so. But that's all I get.
I think the most common use of myself in the intensive method or way is when you say me, myself, and I.
You can do that. You can do that.
When you want to split a cheesecake 3 ways.
Or if you were to say, I can't even. You know that phrase.
Yeah.
And you could say, I myself can't even. It would be very fancy. Okay, so we have I if it's subject, we have me if it's object. Here's a question. Let's dive a little deeper. What about direct object, indirect object? Are there different forms in English?
Throw the ball at me.
Right, that's what? Direct or indirect?
Indirect.
That's indirect. It's still me.
So me.
So, I, subject, me is object, direct or indirect is still me. In English, we might stick some prepositions in front of it if it's an indirect object, but it's still me. Now, is there any other form of the word I in English? What if it's possessive? My. My or mine. So, my indicates possession. That's the form. So, what's interesting is this is kind of like a declension. You didn't realize it, but English actually has a little bit of declining going on. Not much, but hey, it's something. My or mine, when do you use mine? And when do you use my?
Mine is the
You're a
object.
seagull trying to chase Nemo.
My is
That's a
more,
good guess, but let's keep
my is more
digging.
Subject and mine is more object.
Well, can you guys remember the adjective positions? Whether something is attributive or predicate?
Oh, that.
Oh, probably.
Mine is predicate.
My is, well, yes, my is attributive.
Yep.
And then mine is predicate. So, okay, my marker, right? It comes right before marker, kind of like black marker, like an adjective, right? My marker. But if I stick a to be verb in between, then we use mine. right? So the marker is mine. That's when we use the other form. So you know how that works instinctively. You may not be able to express it, but you know. Okay, so can we do the plurals? If it's plural and it's a subject, what is it? We, right? We. What if it's possessive? Our or ours, right? Same thing. If it's in a predicate position, it's ours. And what about the object?
Theirs.
Us,
Us. Oh,
right? Now let's do the second person. Second person's a little easier. Singular subject. You. You. Possessive.
yours.
Your. What do we do sometimes?
Yours.
Yeah. Yay. My handwriting is getting bad. What if it's the object?
You.
You.
It's a lot the same.
Plural.
Use.
You.
You all. You.
Your.
Oh,
That's yours.
Or yours. And then you.
Again.
Well, that one's hard. Well, it's hard to know what are you saying exactly when you see a lot of these forms.
And you say
Right?
use.
Hey,
You could. You could.
Yeah.
So this is what you're learning in Greek. Okay? Here's a question for you. What case is this one, probably? Nominative. What case would this be? Genitive. The genitive would equal my or mine. Object, direct object, indirect object, which case or cases? Dative and accusative, right? Dative, indirect, accusative, direct. And then we have the same things here, just in the plurals, right? Now, what about here? You should be what case? Nominative, the way that we had it laid out. Your, yours. Genitive, you here. Dative, accusative, and the rest. So, what is our nominative singular for the first person?
In what language?
In Greek.
For I.
What word?
Ego.
I. Yeah.
You can remember that. Ego comes right from that. Ego. Now, what if it's genitive? Genitive singular. First person.
S.
It is, well, it switches, it has, it switches. It's not, it doesn't start with an epsilon.
Oh, it doesn't.
Moo.
It's moo.
Thanks.
Duck, go, quack, quack. Cow, go, moo. Right?
What?
Think about it.
We. Alright,
So,
I.
what about the dative?
Me. What does me?
It's
mean?
moi.
More.
Now that makes sense. Dative's got a Yoda in there,
Yeah,
like it usually does. It's not exactly the same, but it brings in the Yoda. Now, what about the accusative singular? This one should look a little familiar. Meh. What does that look like? Me, which is the direct object in English, right?
Yes.
Yay.
Fine.
All right.
Makes sense.
Nominative plural. Hey, Mace.
Yeah, where does that come from? I mean,
Like why is it? Yeah, I don't know.
it's
Then-
just so.
Then we have hey Mo. Oh, that's okay. Hey mes, hey mon, hey min, hey mas. Okay? Yes, sir.
So this is kind of a little bit kind of off topic, but it's just when you have in Greek when you have two letters together that don't usually correspond in English, like for instance Holy Spirit or Spirit in Greek is like pneuma or something like that.
Oh my God.
So you don't like change, you don't make one silent or anything. You just pronounce it how it is.
Oh, in general, you pronounce every letter. Yep. So like, that's a good example. Pneuma, you're pronouncing that P and that nu.
Actually makes it easier because then you don't have to worry about silent.
Like, which one is silent,
Yeah,
when is
yeah.
it silent? Nah, just pronounce everything. So, here is I, okay? I, my, to me, by me, with me, in me, because it's dative. Then me as the direct object. Then we have we, our, to us, by us, with us, whatever, us. And hey mas is us as the direct object. Let's look at the second person, because even though like the beginning letter is different, it's really similar. What's our nominative singular, second person?
Sue.
Sue. Yay.
I know her.
Sue. Your
So?
friend Sue. She was named after second person personal pronoun in Greek. Crazy. What is next?
So,
How should I spell this?
as an oop without P.
With a U.
Soup. As a P.
Look. Sue. Pronounce the same, but look. Moo. Sue. Boom. Same thing. Just change that first letter. What's the next one?
Soy sauce.
Soy. Soy. You want to know something interesting that makes me think about this? Okay. Chinese food in Spokane. I couldn't find one Chinese restaurant that had duck sauce. And because you said soy sauce, it made me think of this. Duck sauce, you know, like that
Yeah,
orangey
yeah.
sauce. It's basically all
Sweet.
sugar, but it's
Yeah.
you dunk everything you get in it.
Yeah.
Everything that you buy. They don't even have that. They didn't even know what I was talking about.
They're real Chinese then.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
They're real Chinese then.
yeah.
But no, there's, Chinese people usually run the Chinese restaurants here.
Could we have some input on that, Jimmy?
It's,
We don't have duck sauce.
I only know what duck sauce is because all my colleagues order takeout every week.
well,
And you can get it at the grocery
it's
store in a bottle if you need it.
So, anyway, what do you think looking at this, what do you think the accusative singular is?
Say.
Say.
Se.
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 Oops.
Absalom. How dare you? Okay, now let's look at these plurals. What do you got?
Yes.
Humes.
Mace.
Humes. So what do you think the next one is?
Humon.
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 Humine.
And then we have
Humas.
human and
Human.
Hummus.
I don't even care. I am not fixing that. That says something. It's all Greek and everybody. Okay. So, what would Sue be? Nominative singular. How would that translate?
You.
You. What function?
Subject.
Subject. What about Sue, the second one?
Your.
Your. Or if it's in the predicate position,
Yours.
yours. Soy.
You.
To you.
To you.
From you.
Well,
By you.
the first one, not like of or from, those are more genitive ideas. So, because technically, Sue could be of you as well. It's just most of the time it's going to be your. But it could be of you. So, soy, to you, with you, by you. Said,
You.
You.
you, direct object. Humes,
Y'all.
you. Or whatever. Humon.
Your.
Yours. Human.
Y'all.
To you,
To
with you,
all
by
of
you, in you.
To all of you.
By humas.
Y'all.
Alright. Let's just pronounce them one time together, and then we'll take a break. Here we go.
Ego.
Ego. Mu. Moi. Me. Mes.
Hemos.
Emin. Emas. Su. Su. Soy. Se. Umes. Umon. Umen. Umas. Beautiful. Let's take 10 minutes. Come back. 9:56.
All my mother did when I was in high school was complaining about my handwriting.
Yeah, the penmanship.
The one thing is mine's not bad. It's just small, but my mother complains about it.
Can everyone go to page 30 in their workbook?
She always used to say hi, beautiful handwriting.
30.
Did I say textbook?
Oh,
Workbook.
Okay.
You're speaking clearly. I'm just opening the wrong book.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you talk a lot, like I have to for the class, I'll say like the completely wrong thing and then realize it later on. Wait, that was all wrong, what I just said. This is a section from 1 John chapter 4. He basically, because this is supposed to be a part of the workbook that is a review for chapters 6 through 9, basically everything that you don't know yet, he gives you. So we're just going to go around and do a little translating. You know, I'll say this, if you feel very much so like you're unprepared, because here's the thing, none of you were like supposed to complete this. We're going to do this together as a group. We're all going to have nice patience with one another, all of those good things. But if you feel like super unprepared, like you can't do it at all, maybe I'll just have you pronounce a certain section, and you know, but just be honest about it. It's fine. Okay. So I'm going to start us off. So, agape toi, me pante pneumate pistuete. So I'll just go to there. So, we see that pante is already given to us. That's every. Pistuete is given to us as well. It's believe. And it's a verb, okay? So agape toi, I know that that's from agapetas. Agapetas means beloved, but this is nominative plural. So it's actually, technically this is a vocative. What it means is he's directly addressing them. So it just means beloved, like beloved ones. So that's how he's starting his sentence. Well, that's nice, hey. John calling us beloved. Yeah. Beloved. We see the may. May is a negation. It's negating the verb pistuete. So we have do not believe, and then pante pneumate. Do not believe. Those are datives, so you could say do not believe in every spirit, but lots of times in English we'll drop the in. So it's beloved, do not believe every spirit. Okay? Can I get a volunteer to go from where I left off to the comma? Yes, Patrick.
You left off.
After pistuete.
Okay, after pursuite. Okay, so beloved,
Oh,
do not test. What's that?
will I, from Allah to Estin, can you pronounce it in Greek first and then translate?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Alla docimnexite.
That letter is a zeta, not a c.
Mizete.
Dakemadzete.
Okay.
So dakemadzete.
Docimazite. Ta pneumata.
Yep, pneumata.
A ectu theu estin. Theu.
Yep.
Theu.
That,
Theu estin.
Yep.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, yet test the spirits. Are from God, or is from God.
Okay, you're very close.
Ek
Very-
is from, right?
Ek. Yep, here we would do from.
Yeah.
What is the word a? Anyone can answer. Epsilon iota, a. What does that mean?
Is that if?
To be.
Yep, if. Now, in English here, what's a little nicer of a word that we would use in this sentence instead of if, but it means the same thing?
Then.
Well, weather, W-H-E-T-H-E-R, weather. Weather's a little nicer, I would probably use that here. So, and here's the last thing that I want to bring out, and this is an important note. Estin. Estin is from Amy, right?
Yeah.
What person and number is that?
Third.
It is third person, yes. What is it?
Singular.
It is singular, so it means what?
Him, she, or it.
He, she, or it is. What is the subject of it, though? When you look, what subject?
Spirit.
Spirits is what number? Singular or plural?
Plural.
What's going on
I
here?
don't know.
We have a plural subject, but a singular verb. No. Well, take careful note of this. Nominative, neuter, plural subjects will take a third singular verb. It's not a huge deal now because technically we haven't gotten into the verb chapters. We've only learned one verb, but you'll get very much used to that. What was that?
Which verb is it that we learned?
Amy, this one.
Oh.
The one from which Estin comes. So, okay, what we have here then is, beloved, do not believe every spirit. Then the word Allah. Allah is but or rather. So we're just going to say but there. Do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits whether they are from God. So test the spirits. Then the word a. You could say if, but I just like whether here. Whether, and then estin is they are, because we're talking about spirits. They are ek tu theu, whether they are from God. Yay! Yes, Chris.
So when I was studying for the test, I was pronouncing Allah, Allah. But then, for some reason earlier this morning, I started thinking about it, and I thought maybe it was supposed to be pronounced Anga, because of the double lambda.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. That's because a lambda kind of looks like a reflected version of a gamma. So it's a double gamma that makes the first one sound like a nu.
What is that?
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Thus,
right.
That'd be a gamma
A
llama.
gamma lambda.
into.
Okay, so is there a volunteer to do actually the rest of this sentence? Because he gives you a fair amount of it. Anybody?
But they're such long words.
I'll try.
Go ahead, Dan.
So oti.
Oh, there's a rough breathing mark there.
So it's ati. Ati.
Well, the rough means you're gonna put an H sound.
Yeah. So oti.
Yep, hate, or you can say hati
Okay.
as well.
Hati. Poloi. What's that first letter? Is it?
That's a psi.
Okay, so it's pseudopronatai.
I think I spelled this right.
It is a lot of
That's like
letters.
that's like encyclopedia or something.
Okay,
Pseudo-proper?
yes, you have the meaning correct, and how would we say that? Instead of pseudo-prophet,
False
false prophet, right? But for pronunciation, let's take a look at this. Let's do this first, these three letters. Psu, or if you can, you could do psu, because technically epsilon, upsilon is like feud, you. But if you can't do that, just do u.
Like French.
But psu,
Do.
Da.
well, it's an omicron.
Da.
Da, psu da, psu da. Okay, go ahead, repeat after me. Psu da.
Suda.
Now these next three letters.
Pro.
Pra.
Pra.
Next two letters.
Fe.
Fe. Last letters.
Tai.
Tai.
Chai.
Psu da pra fe tai. I think, yep, that's where the accent is. So, psu da pra fe tai. Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, so they went out.
Okay, keep going, Dan.
Uh,
This one's long too.
yeah.
Sorry, bro.
So is that an X or X or a Z?
Yep, the first two letters are X.
Okay. Dasin.
You're pretty good there. Exeleluthasin.
Exeleluthasin.
Exeleluthasin. Yep.
And then Ace.
Ace.
Ton Cosmos.
Tan Cosma.
Cosmo.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So Oshi is that.
Hata can be that, but remember it's connected to the part before it. So it can be that, since, or because.
Okay.
So which one do you think it is here?
Because.
Because is correct.
Because many false prophets have gone out into the world.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because many, and then many is matching false prophets, right? In case, number, and gender. What's interesting here is false prophets. Look at the ending. Pseuda prophetai. Wait. The adjective is paloi. Why isn't the adjective palai? Right? Why isn't it? We have pseuda prophetai, but then we have paloi. Why is it not palai? Because it's supposed to match in case, number, and gender to its noun, right?
Is this a masculine noun?
Yes. Remember we were talking about prophetes, although it looks like graphe, and you would think that it's feminine, it's actually masculine. So, pseuda prophetes is the same thing. It's the same word, just with pseuda stuck on the front of it. So it has first declension endings, so you might think that it's feminine, but it's not. And because it's indeed masculine, it means that it's going to have a masculine adjective. Palai would be feminine, but pseuda prophetai is masculine. So they're both; these are both nominative, plural, masculine endings. But they're different declensions. So if that was a little confusing, that's fine. I think you're going to get more used to it as we get into the third declension. But I just wanted to point that out. So, because many false prophets, and then he gives you, they have gone out. Who? Who are these they? Well, pseudo prophetai fit the they, because it's plural, right? So, because many false prophets have gone out into ace, into tan kosmon. Why is tan kosmon accusative?
It's the object.
Object of the preposition.
Because it's the object of the preposition ace, but what about ace? Like, why isn't it dative? Why isn't it genitive? Because ace only takes the accusative, right?
Well, okay.
Ace will always take its object in the accusative. Okay, very good. Thank you, Dan. The next one is pretty short. We're just going to go to this, the raised period, which is a semicolon,
Okay,
from N to The'u. Would anyone like to do that?
I'll try.
Yes.
N to toe.
Yep, tuto.
Gin. Ginas. Kete.
Very close. That O vowel, is that an omega or an omicron?
I mean omega.
Okay, so you're just going to want to plug in a long O sound there.
Okay, let me start again.
Oh, no, yep, that's fine.
Okay. Ginos. Kete.
Yes, and just one other thing, we're going to keep the iota short. So, gnoskete.
Ginos. Kete.
Perfect.
Two.
Ta.
Ta. Pene. Penuma. Oh,
Yep.
I know that one. Two. Theu.
The'u.
Theu.
Mhm.
Alright. So, in this, you know the Spirit of God?
Yes, in this, you know the Spirit of God. So he's introducing what the this is. It's almost like in English you would expect a colon there. In this, you know the Spirit of God. Would anyone like to do from Pan all the way to Eston? Basically to the comma?
Give it a whirl.
Yes.
Pnuma, hamalage,
Yeah, just put the emphasis on the last syllable.
hamalage,
Mm-hmm.
imsu,
Iye.
yesu,
Yep.
yesu, Christon,
Yep, Christon.
Sarki,
Yep.
and then Lu, Thata,
Yep. Elelutata.
Ectotheu,
That article's going to be to.
Tutheu, Esti.
Yep, and just on the word on the God, you're going to do instead of a. So that. Just because the'u is actually an adjective that means divine.
Oh.
So it's nice to differentiate the sound.
Okay, so Theu.
Yep, that.
Okay.
You got a long one.
Every spirit that confesses that, I'm assuming that's Jesus Christ,
That is Jesus Christ.
has come in the flesh, is from God.
Yes, very good. Okay, so looking at that a little more closely, every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, really that whole thing is functioning as the subject of Estin. Okay, it's a whole bunch of different parts of speech in that phrase, but that is functioning as a subject. But when we dive into that, we see pan, pneuma, every spirit, both of those are nominative, singular, neuter, right? Because pneuma is neuter. So pan needs to be neuter as well. Every spirit that, you have the word ha, that's a relative pronoun. You're going to learn that in 1 or 2 classes, the relative pronouns. Hamabage, every spirit that confesses that. You'll learn verbs when we get there. So, every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh. So, Iesun Christan is in what case? Anybody? It's just, they're similar to Logos with those endings.
Accusative, singular.
No. Dated?
Accusative?
Yes, accusative. And the reason why it's accusative is that inside of that phrase, it's functioning as an object. It's functioning as a direct object, right? Someone confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, but Jesus Christ is part of what's being confessed. Okay? So we have the accusative case. In flesh, or in the flesh, en sarke. Why is sarke in the dative?
Because it is the indirect object.
Well, no, not because it's the indirect object. Because
Because Christ has come, but Christ is not the subject.
well, look at the word right before sarke.
What's our position?
It's because it's the object of en, and en always takes a dative object. Okay? So en sarke. Here's the thing. What if en wasn't there? Could it still mean the same exact thing?
Okay, so then it would be, Christ has come the flesh.
Well, if it were dative, though.
You would need a preposition.
Yes, dative, you can supply a preposition, and you could supply in. So even with the preposition en dropped off, if it read Jesu Christan sarke, it could still mean the exact same thing. There would just be more ambiguity. There would probably be some other possibilities as well. But because it's the dative, it could potentially mean the same exact thing. So has come in the flesh is from God. Okay, very good.
Wait,
Yes.
is from God, but what about the epsilon kappa, what about that?
That's the word from.
Oh, so it's not whether this time? or-
No, because that word was a.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yep. Okay, the from Kai to Estin, that next semicolon thingy. Who would like to do that? I will take a volunteer. Yes.
I can mess it up as well as I want.
Go ahead. Well, here's the thing. Several of the words are almost exactly the same as the sentence before. So that should be helpful.
Okay, we're leaving off on, where are we at now?
We're at chapter 4, verse 3.
Alright, okay. Kai and, are we supposed to say the English or just
We'll
pronounce
go
it?
ahead and pronounce all of the Greek and
Yeah,
then
okay.
translate.
Alright, Kai, Pan, Pneuma,
Yep, just pronounce that P.
Kai, Pan, Pneuma,
Yep.
Ha, May, Amalage?
Yes, you just need to put the rough breathing mark on it.
Oh, Amalage.
Yep, Hamalagi.
Amalage Tam Iesu Ek Tu Theo
Thetu.
Theu Uk Estin Kai.
Oh, you're good. You're just gonna go to the Eston. See the semicolon?
Okay, yeah,
That's really good.
all right.
That was good.
And every spirit,
Now that word ha, he gives you the definition to it in the previous verse. Do you see it?
no.
Yep, just look up and then to the left.
Oh, confess that.
It's the first word.
That.
Oh.
That, oh,
Yep, so that's the same word. It's gonna mean that.
oh, I didn't know it could do that. Not.
Well, no, that it's a different word you guys haven't learned yet. So,
And have we learned this other one here?
Hamalage, oh, he already gave you as well in the previous line to the left. It's he, she, or it confesses that.
Oh, okay, that confesses that, okay. That confesses that.
But remember, you have a may before the Hamalage.
And every spirit that does not
Exactly.
confess that Jesus is God.
Well,
Wouldn't it be Christ there, though? It would be the Christ, wouldn't it?
no, the word
The
Christ.
Messiah?
No, the word Christ is not in there. You're good up until the word Jesus. So, well, you're gonna get this though. And every spirit that does not confess that Jesus, well, you know what? You know what the problem is? The word hamalage, don't translate it confesses that. Just translate it confesses. That's the problem. So,
And every spirit that does not confess, well,
Jesus. Yep.
Jesus as the Christ.
Nope, there's no as the Christ there. So, and every spirit,
I know the scripture would say that he came in the flesh, wouldn't it? I believe that.
that's a different verse.
Right.
So, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus, now you have ek tu theu uk esten.
Ek came out of, or out
From?
of, or from
So what's ek tu theu?
to. Yes, it does, isn't it?
Yep, but it's with the word God, so.
Of God.
Yep, but just put ek tu theu together. So you have ek is from.
Came from God.
So just from God. Ek tu theu is from God. And now you have uk esten. What does uk esten mean? Just those two words.
He, she, it is Eston, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. But ook, I forgot what ook is.
Uk also is a negation, just like may. It negates the verb.
I probably have my notes, but I don't remember what ook is.
So esten is a verb. It's he, she, or it is.
He is not then.
Yes.
So what we have is, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus, that chunk together is functioning as our subject. That individual is not uk esten ek tu theu from God. So in every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. The word order there was a little more difficult, you know. Okay. Would any, just to finish us off,
So both ook and may can be negations.
correct. It depends upon the mood of the verb. We're not there yet. So just know that both of them can negate a verb. That's usually what they do.
Are there other negations we need to be on the lookout for?
Nope,
Okay.
that's pretty much it. Can anyone do just from Kai to the comma, and then I'll finish the rest of the sentence? Val, would you like to try that?
Okay. Kai, tuto, estin, ta, tu, anti-Christu,
Yep.
ake, koate,
Yeah, ake kaate.
ake kaate. Toki,
Hate.
hate. Erikatai,
Yep.
kai, nun, en, to,
Mm-hmm.
Cosmo, Estin, Ede,
Ede.
Ede.
Yep. Yep.
And this is.
Yeah, ta is an article. You see it's not in a singular neuter. It's representing a noun. So what's the closest neuter noun? Like going back. It's spirit. Yeah, that you haven't encountered that yet, so that's no big deal.
Would this be, Antichrist?
Yep.
So, in this spirit, you have heard, well, this spirit, the Antichrist?
Well, it's going to be, and this is.
And
Kai
this is
Tuta esten, and this is the spirit of
the
Antichrist. Mm-hmm.
And you have heard that he is coming.
So, which you have heard, yep, from Ha, which he doesn't give it to you again, but that's what that means. You guys haven't learned that word yet.
What?
You have heard
Two.
that he is coming,
Yep,
and now,
yep, yeah, it is.
and
Yep.
now is now in the world.
Yep, and then A day. You remember one of its glosses is already.
Oh, and he's already in the world.
Yep. So here's what he's saying there, and this is the spirit of the Antichrist. He's not really talking about an individual here, because what did he just describe that this sort of spirit compels people to do? It causes them to not to confess Jesus, or in other spots, not to confess that Jesus came in the flesh. So remember that at that time there was false teaching that talked about God, that Jesus appeared to be human, but he wasn't actually human. It's something now called Docetism. But it was a certain type of heresy that he is coming against. So that makes sense. The Antichrist spirit doesn't confess the Christ, doesn't confess that the Christ is coming in the flesh. Ooh, that makes sense. It's anti-Christ. So he's saying, and this, what I just told you, is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have heard that it is coming and now already is in the world. Very good. Thank you guys for, well, I guess we did start a little late. So, yeah, I think we're doing the next 2 chapters for next week. It'll be awesome. We're going to keep learning Greek. And I don't think I have anything else to say. Good night, Internet viewers.